Okay, so we consistently hear that community is people's favorite thing about Holy Covenant, and so I like to open with a discussion question so that we can really appreciate the community that we have here. So today's discussion question was, when's the last time you did something with absolutely no plan to show anyone, sell anything, accomplish anything with it? When was the last time you did something just to do it? So turn to your neighbors, the people around you, and just kind of chew on that question for a minute. I just heard Hannah say, you actually did accomplish something, Peter. That enjoyable day you thought you were having, the room is small enough to where I can overhear everything. But Dale got a grade A Sabbath score yesterday. He, instead of doing the things around his house and things he had for work, he biked to the botanical gardens, right? So question, I'm sure anyone in this room, have you ever just watched kids play? If not, you can just peek over there. If you ever just watch kids play, they're not like filming it, they're not trying to create a product to sell, they're not trying to get good enough to be pro. Even little Elliot, who is fascinated with literally a commercial output, right? He doesn't want to do that when he grows up. He wants to be Mario, which is exactly what you should want to do it. Is he 2? Okay, he looks very 2. He 3? Okay. Yeah, 2.5. Yeah. Not trying to go pro. When kids play, they just play because they like it, right? They play because it's what they enjoy. They have a whole rooms or corners of sanctuaries that's literally just things that they enjoy. Now, what about adults? When adults try to play, something else often happens instead, right? From the Hannah-Peter conversation. Sorry for using y'all as my impromptu example. Golf turns into a networking event, right? And into being furious you didn't break that special golf score. I'm not a golfer, so I don't know. My notes say 90, and I probably looked it up to see what a good golf score was. A run turns into chasing a PR or running a marathon or not just feeling the joy of being outside. Picking up a guitar turns into maybe I can get a record deal, or every walk just isn't a walk anymore. It's steps on a watch, which is a number that we're trying to go up to. Or what do we do instead of even those things when we're not actively trying to relax? Sometimes we scroll our phone until our thumbs go numb. The checking out is on the other end of things. Or we put on a show that we're not even watching to make the silence go away. How many of us have taken a day off and look up and we watch the entire season of Hacks? Or is that just me? Both of these kind of look like rest, and on surface level they have a lot in common with rest, but neither of those things are real good, honest play and enjoyment, and neither of those are really rest either. Somewhere between being a kid and being an adult, we learn that time only counts if it produces something. And then our bodies sometimes tell us we got to shut down to stop doing things as well. People used to play instruments just because they liked how it felt in their hands. People used to garden because they liked the way that dirt felt under their fingernails. My 87-year-old grandmother loves to quilt. She's not trying to sell things at a quilt show. She doesn't have an Etsy shop. She's never been featured in Quilter's Digest, although one time she did win the Apple Butter Macon Days quilt show. There's Grandma Shirley with her award-winning quilt. I think she got a $50 gift card to a craft show for it, right? She loves quilting. She loves creating with her hands. One year on Christmas, she literally made a quilt for all 5 of her children, all 14 of her grandchildren, and all 20 of her great-grandchildren. Not to sell, not because she needed some lasting legacy, just because she loved quilting so much that she wanted to share it with people she did it with. She loves creating, and it's not this need to produce. My grandma doesn't have who has a book reading goal for the year? Anyone? I feel like adults treat it like it's the AR reading program. I'm not giving either of you a personal pizza from, who gave those personal? Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut. No one gets a personal pizza from Pizza Hut. She just likes creating. And people used to do all kinds of things like this. They used to quilt, keep house pants, tinker in the garage, no audience required. Now it seems like we live in a society that teaches us that things are only good if it gets monetized. If you're going to spend time on it, it has to pay you back somehow. There's a lie that we're taught pretty early on that many of us don't even remember learning it, and it's that we are what we produce. Anyone gone to like a cocktail party, maybe a kid's, PTA meeting? I don't have kids, so I have to try to like bridge the gap. Anyone ever been to something, what's the first question people usually ask you? What do you do? We've grown into a culture where we assign worth to people based off of what they produce, and it's gotten so used to it, sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it. Capitalism doesn't just want our labor, it wants our very own identity, and it wants to assign worth to us based off what we output. If you produce, you matter. People have somewhat become products. Society itself teaches us that being productive is the most important thing that we can do. That if we slow down a little bit, we're somehow doing it wrong, or we're wasting time, we're leaving money on the table, we're not working to advance ourselves. 36 to 39% of working Americans currently carry a side hustle. 40%. Among Gen Z, that number is more than half, and I'm not even going to get into the influencer culture I talked about last night at Free. And 67% of the people with a side hustle report burnout from the extra work. More than half say it's only worth it once they clear a certain dollar amount. And we aren't even talking about people who have to work 2 jobs to make ends meet to support their families or pay their rent that keeps going up. That's a whole nother topic for another day about how capitalism's trying to trap us. We're talking about the people that work to monetize their hobbies. Our free time isn't free anymore. We are just these little production machines for the capitalist man. Even those of us who aren't doing a side hustle, when we do take a break from working for the man, we often are plagued with guilt for not doing stuff on our days off. Everyone ever actually take a day off and then afterwards you're like, gosh, I should have trimmed the hedges. Does anyone in here even have hedges? I don't even think so. Not being productive on the house chores or the to-do list. We've made rest something that has to earn its keep. We've made peace itself something that you have to justify with a rate of return. And here is where the lie gets the most dangerous. It's just not what happens when we produce, it's what happens when we can't. Life happens, right? You lose the job, you need a roommate, you have a different ability level, you move back in with family, maybe you've struggled with addiction. It doesn't just feel like a financial setback, it feels like a verdict on who you are. Research backs this up. Long-term unemployment is consistently linked to a drop in self-worth. And most of that damage isn't even about the lost income. It's about the lost identity that got tied up in the job in the first place. I know there's a lot of people in this room who's felt that very lived experience. Job loss, financial collapse, needing to depend on other people or needing to defend yourself to other people. And the shame that came with it was never really about money. It was about the money seemed to say about you. The economy will happily let you believe that your worth raises and falls based strictly on your commercial output. The richest people in society need us to believe this so that we'll keep breaking our souls to keep them in private yachts. The gospel does not agree with this economy. So what's actually true underneath what we're taught? Genesis chapter 2 says God rests on the 7th day. Some would even argue that God creates the 7th day as rest. After creating land and sea and heavens and earth and fish and birds, God doesn't decide to take a day off. God creates rest, a time to slow down and just be. Like a bow on top of a picture of creation. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Hessel says in his book, The Sabbath, just as heaven and earth were created in 6 days, Manuha was created on the Sabbath. After the 6 days of creation, what did the universe still lack? It's the Hebrew word menuha. Came the Sabbath, came menuha, the universe is complete. So what is menuha Rabbi Heschel is speaking of? Menuha is a Hebrew word that is typically translated to mean rest. But according to Heschel, that translation undersells it badly. It doesn't just mean stopping work or taking a break. Heschel describes it as something much fuller. He says it includes tranquility and serenity and peace and repose. He puts it alongside other emotions like happiness or stillness or harmony. In the Psalms, it's connected to the Lord is my shepherd. He leads me beside still waters, the waters of Menuhat. Later Jewish tradition even used Menuha as a way of talking about eternal life, a world to come. When we rest in this repose, we're actually getting glimpses of what it's like in the future. So Menuha isn't a negative space. It's not an absence of labor. It's a positive, substantive thing in its own right. Heschel's argument is that when God rested on the seventh day, he wasn't pausing. God was creating Menuha, bringing something into real existence that hadn't existed in the 7 days before. Without, he says, creation would have been incomplete. Rest isn't what's left over once the to-do list is done. It's not just absence of work. It's his own thing, something you can actually enter into like a room. Before humanity produced a single thing, rest isn't a reward to be bolted on to the end of a productive week. Rest is recharging your battery so you can be more... It's not recharging your battery so you can be more productive when you're done. It's built into the architecture of creation itself before there was anything to show for it. Jesus says it even more plain. In Mark chapter 2, he says the Sabbath was made for humankind, not humankind for the Sabbath. Even the most sacred rhythm in Scripture exists to serve you, not the other way around. Our very design as human beings is work to live, to sustain ourselves, not living to work. Being is the end game, existing. Not producing things or dying, just being. Don't get me wrong, working hard and being productive matters, right? Like having purpose and direction, but it doesn't need to be tied to a dollar figure. Our single moms, or our stay-at-home moms out there know that pretty well, right? It's probably the hardest job you'll ever see. I couldn't do it. But living a life with dignity is important, right? But producing is not the goal, even if it's producing without an income attached to it. Even before God created Menuha, or joyful being, God created humanity. Before God gives humanity anything to do, anything to tend, anything to cultivate, God makes humanity in God's own image. It's not made in the image of God for a purpose. It's God's image, full stop. The job comes after, the identity comes first. Your usefulness was never it was never what made you an image bearer of God. You already were one before anything else happened at all. You were not created to be useful or a little production machine. You were created. Usefulness was never the price of admission. And that doesn't change if your world falls apart tomorrow. It doesn't change if your resume doesn't look like you were told it was supposed to. It doesn't change on your best day. That doesn't change on your worst day. You don't earn your way into becoming an image bearer of God. You're not going to lose that either way. And I wish I could tell you I've gotten this all figured out. I don't. There are some messages that are things I have figured out. There's some messages I'm working really hard on, and this falls into category B. This is still a lesson I'm living and not one I've mastered. Right now, I'm leading two very different congregations at once. I think most people in the room probably know that. One is a church start, so it's building something from nothing. I work a lot of nights, work a lot of weekends, do a lot of picking people up from porta potties on Belmont Harbor. And this one, we're walking through revitalization together. figuring out what new life looks like on the other side of decades of history. Both are good work. Both will matter. I wouldn't trade either one of them. But I've learned good work can eat you alive just as easily as bad work can, if you let it. Work around the house can eat you alive just as easy as working for the man can. And honestly, I think the lie might be even stronger if you're working around the house, if you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're fixing up the house, or stay-at-home dad, whatever, because you feel like you always have to be doing it. And on my day off, I caught myself resting just by changing gears. I didn't really take a day off. I just saved my personal to-do list for one day. So I would work 6 days for the churches, and I'd work one day catching up on the laundry I didn't do in the other 6, cleaning the bathroom, doing all those things. And sometimes I would turn a to-do list into the things I wanted to do to justify I wasn't doing much anything else. I'd knock out all the chores around my house, telling myself that was rest. It's not. It's still producing, just for a different boss. Then when my body finally forced the issue and shuts down completely, I numb out. I binge Netflix till my brain goes quiet. And that's not rest either. That's escape. We need to actually name the difference because most of us were never taught it. Chores, errands, productive downtime, numbing it out in front of a screen until you don't feel anything, none of that is rest. Actual rest is stillness that isn't trying to accomplish anything. Not even relaxation as a task, just presence, quiet, being fully in a moment without asking what it's for. What's the point? So over the past few months, I've been trying something a little different. I've worked to build in time that doesn't involve to-do lists. No goal, nothing I need to accomplish. Realizing that God doesn't call us to a job just to break us in the process. Rest is sacred, and I'm learning to treat it as such. I'm working to create more digital boundaries, not checking my email all the time when it's time for rest, not zoning out on Netflix when I need a break. I'm trying to travel a little bit more. And sometimes I feel like I have to board a plane to get some time off. I know Cam was saying he just went on a family vacation, which could either be rest or not rest, depending on the family. I've never met your family, so I can say that, right? Last weekend, me and Justin went to San Francisco for no other reason to enjoy ourselves. We had some ideas of things we'd like to do to enjoy ourselves, but when we were eating at Orphan Andy's Cafe and we saw a tattoo shop next door, I went and got one, because that's what I wanted to do. Probably not a good example of rest. And I may or may not be going to Hawaii over Labor Day, right? But we shouldn't have to board a plane to get some level of rest. God gave us something called the Sabbath for a reason, and I think as Christians, sometimes we think Jesus' pushback on strict adherence to law means we can throw the baby out with the bathwater. I hope that analogy doesn't have some bad history. I didn't research it. Jesus pushed back on rest above all things, right? It's for humankind, not humankind for the Sabbath. So taking a day as sacred rest, it's biblical all throughout the scriptures, including the New Testament. So how do I try to do that? Well, we live in Chicago, which means we have some great beaches in the summertime. I try to hang out with friends and connect with people. If we look at Jewish culture and what they do on the Sabbath, right? They spend a lot of time being together. Sometimes I'll take Mabel, that 10 pounds of terror that lives right there, to the dog park and just watch her play. Not be on my phone, not be responding to emails, not be on a conference call. When we and like I said earlier, setting digital boundaries is important, not responding to text, emails, or chaos. So I apologize. If you email me on Monday, I'm probably not going to respond. So in closing, I just want to remind everyone in the room that you are not a product. You are not created to produce and earn your worth. Your worth is already there. You're not a product in this economy. You're not a product in this church. And you are not a product to God. You're not the version of yourself that keeps it all together. You're not the version with the full calendar. You're just you. Being was always the end game, not what you could produce before you got there. That was true before you did anything today, and it'll still be true tomorrow, whether you produce anything tangible or not. We can learn something from the generations that are behind us and the generations that are coming after us. Kids don't play because they want to make money or build worth. They play because they enjoy it. Grandma Shirley never quilted to earn anything. She quilted because creating is what love with your hands looks like. I mean, she's pretty good at it, but if you do anything for 66 years, you probably would be 76 years. I don't know. My math is not good today. She quilted because creating was what love looked like with her hands. That's not a cute story about an old woman's hobby. That's what it looks like to actually believe you don't have to produce for money in order to be worth something. And remember that rest is sacred. Rest isn't a break from what matters to God. It's part of what matters to God. And in the coming weeks, we'll talk a little bit more about that Jewish tradition of Sabbath. We'll talk a little bit more about how we just check out instead of getting rest. But it's what matters to God. Menuha isn't an afterthought on the seventh day. It was the finishing touch. It was what the world needed for completion. If God rested and called it good, who are we to call our own rest a waste of time? So here's what I'm asking. Not that you do less this week exactly, that you let yourself be, at least once, without asking permission for it, even from yourself. Maybe pick one thing. Maybe it's just 1 hour or one morning or the duration of one walk. Don't take your phone out. Don't run through a to-do list in your mind. Don't try to put a productive spin on it. That's a lie I like to tell myself. Well, if I rest today, I'll be more productive tomorrow. That's not the point. Just you, being the person that God already called very good before you've done a single useful thing. It might feel like boredom at first. It might feel like your skin doesn't fit right. When we're learning to do something we don't do very often, it's almost always going to make us uncomfortable. It's not a sign that something's wrong with you, that you might be it might be the first 5 minutes of menuha you've had in a very long time. And like anything new, it'll take some getting used to. You were made in the image of God before you did anything to be useful to anyone. We love babies, right? And those little poop factories are not useful to anyone, and we still love them dearly. And on the day, everything rested, God didn't stop working. God made something whole, something the universe was missing until it existed. And you get to enter that. Not earn it, just enter it like a room. Will you pray with me? Heavenly God, the creator of rest, you made us before you gave us anything to do. You called us very good before we had done a single useful thing. Forgive us for believing that our worth is something we have to produce. Forgive us for turning even our rest into one more task to get right. You didn't just stop working on the seventh day. You created something whole, something the world was still missing until you made it. Teach us to trust that the same rest, not to earn it, not to hurry through it, just to enter it, the way that you made it for us to enter. For those of us who don't know how to sit still, meet us in our discomfort and let us learn to call it by its true name. For those of us running on empty, produced almost to nothing, let this be the moment that we finally slow down. We are not what we build. We are not what we finish. We are not our output. We are yours. In the name of Christ, who told us the Sabbath was made for us and not the other way around, we pray. Amen.